cheers, since I don't think we have any prohibitionists on stage. But we do appreciate you attending tonight and addressing this very important, very compelling state question 792 that will be on the ballot November 8th. And I wanted to start by just asking, I'll start with the senator. More than 30 years ago, we passed liquor by the drink in Oklahoma. And ever since then, despite no wine or strong beer in grocery stores or convenience stores, there hasn't exactly been a scarcity of drinking in Oklahoma, whether in good times, good economic times, or bad. So State Question 792 would bring wine and full-strength beer into those types of stores. You're a co-author of this bill, so please, Senator, explain why this change is good and how it would benefit the public as a whole.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why I began this journey of really modernizing our alcohol laws. The first one is Oklahoma is one of 5 states left that mandates 3-2 beer, or what we call low point beer. Colorado, Kansas, Minnesota, Utah, and Oklahoma, and Colorado actually. And looking at the way that our current structure is set up, it would require a state question to be able to move to what we would consider a single strength system. So in looking at that, in addition to allowing for wine in grocery and convenience stores, the realization was there's going to be a lot more to this. The benefit is most states are offering something similar to this. They don't have a 2-tier system for beer, and many of them are offering wine as an option in grocery and convenience. So this was really the start of a conversation to figure out, how could we make that happen. I will add though, it's not just a alcohol issue, this is also an economic development issue. It affects grape growers and wineries in Oklahoma, and it also affects the craft brew industry in Oklahoma. So this is really an all-encompassing piece of legislation that will move us in a forward direction.
Mr. Kerr, this system we have has been in place for decades, and really the liquor store industry has resisted change, wanting to protect its business. And meanwhile, consumers increasingly seem to want more options, choices, craft beers, convenience of wine in the store, being able to go out on Sunday night when they realize they don't have enough wine the next day for the holiday dinner. But now under public pressure, the liquor store industry is willing to propose changes that would be phased in and contain restrictions, although that State Question 791 apparently will not make the ballot. So why do you oppose 792?
Well, David, first let me say, and I hate to get disagreeable this quickly with you in particular, since we just met, but the initial part of your question is only somewhat correct. The Retail Liquor Association and liquor stores in general have not opposed changes to the liquor laws. My predecessor, J.P. Richard, who is in the audience tonight, fought for years at the legislature in order to get changes made. It did have some success. For those that are old enough, you will remember that we used to not be able to sell on election days for some god-awful reason, and the reason is actually Texas. And so we've got that passed. There was a restriction in place that would not allow both a husband and a wife to own package store licenses. That got changed because obviously there was an unfairness there. And so the Retail Liquor Association in particular, even previous to all of this coming to fruition, we were on board with a lot of these changes. It may surprise some people, as a matter of fact, how many things Senator Brice and I actually agree on. Those will not be talked about much tonight, but there are many things where we are actually in line. Our first meeting that we had together when I sat down at her desk at the Capitol, and she, in her Bill 383, was proposing cold beer in liquor stores, and that was it. I said, as an organization, we're neutral on this because economic concerns and rural concerns, but personally, I'm all for it. I like the idea that consumers deserve it. And so it's unfair to say that we don't want change or that we have historically resisted change. There's some of us in the industry that have historically always wanted change, and I happen to be one of those guys. With that said, 792 is not the change I want. And it's not the change that I think is good for Oklahoma. It's not the change that I know is not good for Oklahoma liquor stores. So I'll just address one of Senator Brice's early points, which was the economic development argument, which is one of my least favorite arguments that the proponents of 792 make. Because what they've done is they've cherry-picked, in this case grape-picked, a particular industry.
Hops picked, can we add that as well?
You can have that, yeah, I like that. So they've picked specific cottage industries, whom I support, by the way. And for those that are in the audience that heard about 424 getting the favorable opinion today, good job for the Attorney General making that happen. That is absolutely the right thing to do. But at the same time, what we're talking about is a net loss to Oklahoma when we talk about 792. So for every brewery that will open, for every tourist that might come in and tour those breweries, for every additional freedom that winery gets in Oklahoma, you're closing down, you're losing 10 jobs and closing down a liquor store, or 2 liquor stores, or 5 liquor stores. So the offset there just doesn't make any sense economically.
You know, I think there's still a lot of confusion over this question. And so I'd like to ask just some basic questions, and perhaps the senator is most capable of answering these about what the effects would be. So if 792 passes, would that mean every grocery or convenience store in the state be allowed to sell refrigerated strong beer and wine, even in a county that doesn't allow liquor by the drink that is dry?
Those counties would have 2 years to pass legislation to allow for them to decide whether or not they wanted to have full-strength beer and wine. But in counties that do have that option, they would be able to have full-strength beer and refrigerated full-strength beer and wine in grocery and convenience stores, with a couple of caveats. And that is, there is a cap on the alcohol ABV for beer and wine at 8.99 and 15% alcohol. Those higher alcohol content products will still be exclusive to liquor stores.
And if I may add to that, it's not just grocery and convenience stores that would be eligible to sell strong beer and wine, and Senator Brice can speak on this if she likes, but it's literally any retail outlet, according to SQ 792. So if the nail salon wanted to get a beer and wine license, they could sell 7